In the heart of the Ebonshire Lighthouse, Amelia stood face to face with her other self, a mirror image from a different time. The sight was hauntingly familiar yet oddly alien, a paradox that sent chills down her spine. The stone walls surrounding her echoed a tale of centuries gone by, of life and loss, of waves crashing against the unyielding rocks. The room was small, filled with the damp smell of the sea mingled with the ancient musk of the worn-out wooden floor. The figure before her was an anomaly, a ghost of her past, or perhaps her future. It stood there, bathed in the ethereal glow of the lighthouse beacon, as if it had been drawn from the annals of Amelia's memories and given form. Her heart pounded in her chest, her mind racing with 1,000 questions. Could this be the result of some temporal mishap, or a mere reflection of her innermost fears? The mirror identical to her in every way. The same emerald eyes, the same fiery hair, the same stubborn set to the jaw. Yet there was something different, something eerie about its silent gaze that bore into her very soul. It seemed to know her, understand her, in ways she didn't understand herself. The air around them buzzed, as if the universe itself was holding its breath, waiting for something extraordinary to happen. The tension was so palpable that it was almost a physical entity of its own, threatening to shatter the stillness of the moment. The air was charged with the electric pulse of the rift and the silent whispers of the sea. The other Amelia, with eyes wide and urgent, spoke of a looming threat. In the dimly lit room she sat across from me, her face a canvas of fear and determination. Her hands were knotted tightly in her lap, fingers white from the pressure. Her lips, usually curved in a light-hearted smile, were pressed into a thin, solemn line. She began her tale, speaking in hushed and hurried tones. Her words were like echoes from a distant, otherworldly abyss, carrying an ominous prophecy within them. "The rift you guard," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, "is no ordinary passage." Her words hung in the air, thick with foreboding and an undercurrent of urgency. She paused, letting the gravity of her statement sink in. Her gaze, both pleading and imploring, bore into mine, as if to imprint the importance of her message onto my very soul. There was a tremor in her voice when she spoke again. "It's not," she emphasized, "just a passage through time." Her words painted a vivid picture of a pathway, not just through the linear progression of time, but one that led to dimensions and worlds beyond our comprehension. She talked of an impending danger, a malevolent force that sought to misuse this passage, a force that threatened to plunge our existence into an unfathomable abyss, a darkness that threatened to engulf everything we held dear. She spoke with passion and urgency, her words a desperate plea to understand the magnitude of the threat. "A gateway to realms unknown," she said, her voice echoing in the room. She then fell silent, her gaze meeting mine once more. There was a plea in her eyes, a desperate call to arms. A darkness seeks to exploit it, endangering all of existence. Shadows gathered at the edges of the lighthouse, swirling with a life of their own. The inky black forms danced on the periphery of the stark white light emitted from the lighthouse's heart. They twisted and twirled, forming grotesque figures that danced a macabre ballet, coaxing an eeriness out of the night. The dark tendrils extended towards the beacon of light, like children reaching for a forbidden treat, only to shrink back when touched by its pure luminescence. It was a sight to behold, an intricate dance of light and dark, of good versus evil, resonating with the constant struggle that raged within every soul. The wind howled, carrying with it the saltiness of the sea, a shrill counterpoint to the silent war being waged at the base of the towering structure. The waves crashed against the rocky shore, the rhythmic percussion in this orchestra of the night. A distant thunder rumbled, a timpani rolling in the symphony of shadows. Then, amidst this tableau of kinetic energy, a figure emerged. The other Amelia. Her appearance sent a cold chill down the spine, as if the temperature had dropped several degrees. She moved with an eerie grace, weaving through the shadows as if she was a part of them. Her gaze fell upon the dancing shadows, her eyes reflecting their dark dance. She observed their movements, her expression aloof yet pensive. Slowly, she extended a pale hand towards them, her fingers stretching out as if to touch the intangible forms. But at the last moment she pulled back, a shiver running through her. She turned, her eyes meeting ours through the screen. "These shadows," she began, her voice a whisper in the wind, "are fragments of the darkness." Her words hung in the air, a haunting echo that sent shivers running down the spine. "They're testing the boundaries," she continued, her voice trailing off as she studied the swirling shadows. Her message was clear, an eerie reminder of the darkness that lingered just beyond the reach of the light, of the boundaries we dared not cross. It was a chilling testament to the power of shadows, the fragments of darkness that tested the limits of our courage, our hope, our humanity. "Testing the boundaries of the rift," the other Amelia concluded, her gaze once again focused on the swirling shadows gathered at the edges of the lighthouse. Determined, Amelia began to comprehend the weight of her role as the protector. The enormity of her duty reverberated through her, as though she was standing at the foot of a towering mountain, gauging its vastness. She was the Guardian, a title that bore significant responsibility. "What does it mean to be a Guardian?" she mused, her thoughts swirling like a tempest within her. "What does it imply?" she continued. "How does one carry the world's burdens and still stand tall?" In her heart she craved answers. She sought not only the knowledge of what her role entailed, but also the wisdom to execute her duty correctly. She marveled at the enormity of the task ahead of her, simultaneously battling a growing sense of trepidation and kindling a spark of excitement. She asked, "How can we protect the rift and repel the darkness?" The question echoed in her mind, resounding with the intensity of a drumbeat. She looked into the distance, her gaze drawn to the ominous rift. It was a tear in reality, a chasm that threatened to engulf everything in its wake. It was her duty to guard, to protect. Yet the darkness skulked at the edges, a menacing shadow waiting for an opportunity to strike. She could feel its malevolent presence, an insidious whisper in the back of her mind. She knew she had to stand strong, for if she faltered, the world as they knew it would crumble into nothingness. As she grappled with her fear and uncertainty, she felt a comforting presence beside her. Her other self, a manifestation of her inner spirit, her strength and resolve. It was as though she were looking in a mirror, staring into a pair of eyes that mirrored her own determination and resolve. This other Amelia was no stranger to her. She was her, and yet not her. She represented the culmination of her past experiences, her triumphs and her failures. This other self, with a look of wisdom and understanding, reached out towards her. In her outstretched hand she held forth a relic, an artifact from a time long past. It was an ancient keeper's amulet, a symbol of their lineage and a beacon of hope in their darkest hour. As Amelia accepted the amulet, she felt a surge of energy coursing through her. The fear and uncertainty began to dissipate, replaced by an unwavering sense of resolve. She held the amulet tight, her determination renewed and her spirit bolstered. "We can, and we will protect the rift and repel the darkness," she thought to herself. Her other self handed her a relic, an ancient keeper's amulet. The amulet held powers untold, a key to amplifying the lighthouse's protective aura. This was not a simple piece of jewelry. This was an artifact of incredible importance, a mysterious object wrapped in centuries of legend and speculation. Its surface, intricately carved, gleamed under the faint glow of the moonlight, illuminating the ancient symbols etched onto it. The touch of the amulet was cold as the dark night that encapsulated the lighthouse. Yet there was a certain warmth that radiated from within, an inexplicable energy that seemed to hum in harmony with the beating of her heart. Amelia could feel its power, sensed its dormant potential. It was like holding a thunderstorm in her hands, a storm with all its raw, untamed might waiting to be summoned. The amulet, however, was more than just a source of power. It was a beacon of hope, a promise of salvation against the darkness that lurked beyond the lighthouse's protective aura. The lighthouse, with its unwavering light, served as a bulwark against the encroaching darkness. But the amulet could do more. It could amplify this protection and perhaps even push back the darkness. Yet to unlock these powers, Amelia had to do something far from ordinary. She had to embrace the danger, confront the fear that gnawed at the edges of her heart. It wasn't enough to merely possess the amulet. She had to make it a part of her, to align herself with its energy, to let it imbue her with its power. There was a ritual, a rite that had to be performed under the waning moon, a ceremony as old as the lighthouse itself. She had to venture into the forbidden, to tread paths untraveled, and embark on a journey that was as much about self-discovery as it was about survival. The route she had to take, likely dangerous and fraught with peril, was a path that led straight into the abyss, into the very heart of the rift. The rift was a gaping hole in reality, a tear in the fabric of the universe. It was a place of darkness and terror, a realm of the unknown. To enter the rift was to invite madness. But Amelia was not deterred. She was a beacon of light in the darkness, a warrior of the forlorn, a defender of the light. And so she steeled herself, gathering her courage. She knew the path she had to take was not safe. In fact, it was fraught with danger. But she also knew that it was necessary, for the light of the lighthouse was not enough. It needed to be amplified, and that was the purpose of the amulet, the key she held in her hand. She was not without fear, but she was also not without hope. She had the amulet, but more importantly, she had the will to fight, to protect, to stand against the darkness. And so, with her heart pounding in her chest, she resolved to face whatever lay ahead. To unlock the amulet's power and amplify the lighthouse's protective aura, Amelia had to venture into the very heart of the rift. As the clock struck midnight, Amelia, guided by her other self, approached the rift. The air around her seemed to tighten, wrapping itself around the world like a steel corset. The stale smell of the gravesite, mixed with the tang of fresh rain, filled her nostrils. Amelia's heart pounded like a drum, the rhythm of her fear echoing through her bones. Her other self, a spectral semblance, glided alongside her, their movements in harmony, reflecting an eerie symmetry. This ethereal doppelganger, a mirror image imbued with an unsettling tranquility, was a constant presence, a paradoxical blend of comfort and dread. As her other self, she was more in tune with the supernatural, more receptive to the nuances that remained hidden from the mortal world. The rift, a tear in the fabric of existence, stood before her like a monstrous, gaping mouth. It was not a physical entity, but an amalgamation of energy, a swirling vortex of darkness that seemed to devour the surrounding light. A melodic hum radiated from it, a lullaby of chaos and destruction that could lull the world into eternal slumber. As they approached, the shadows around the rift grew denser, more palpable. They writhed and twisted, their forms constantly changing, morphing into grotesque parodies of familiar shapes. There was an aggression to them, a malevolent force that clawed at the edges of reality. Amelia could feel the prickling sensation akin to 1,000 icy needles on her skin. Her breath hitched in her throat, her chest constricting amidst the growing pressure. Her other self, however, seemed undeterred by the shadowy onslaught. Its luminous form pulsed, a beacon in the encroaching darkness. The shadows hissed and spat, their anger a tangible force. Amelia could hear the whispers of forgotten souls, their voices weaving a tapestry of despair and longing. The whispers grew louder, a cacophony of regrets and lost hopes, their anguish resonating within her. Amelia's gaze was drawn back to the rift, its pull stronger now, beckoning her to step into the unknown. The shadows danced around it, their movements growing more frenzied, more desperate. The rift, growing wider with each passing second, was an abyss that held promises of despair and doom. It threatened to swallow her whole, to wipe her existence off the face of the earth. Amelia's other self suddenly stepped forward. It looked back at her, its eyes reflecting a calm determination. Its lips moved, mouthing words she couldn't hear but could somehow understand. They stood at the precipice of oblivion, the fate of their existence hanging in the balance. Suddenly the world seemed to hold its breath. The shadows halted their relentless assault, their forms still. The whispers died down, their echoes lingering in the silence. The rift pulsed, its hum now a single haunting note. Amelia, feeling the courage radiating from her other self, stepped forward. Her fear was replaced by a sense of resolve as she braced herself for the unknown. The shadows grew more aggressive, clawing at the edges of reality. With the amulet in hand, Amelia stepped into the rift. This wasn't just any ordinary rift, but a portal between worlds, a doorway to a universe of infinite possibilities. Each step she took was filled with a unique mix of trepidation and excitement. As her foot made contact with the seemingly insubstantial surface of the rift, a pulse of energy coursed throughout her body, making her shiver with anticipation. The amulet, adorned with a radiant gemstone of mysterious origin, warmed in her grip, pulsating in rhythm with her racing heart. It was a spectacular artifact, a relic from a bygone era filled with magic and lore. The runes, etched so meticulously into its metallic surface, glowed softly, casting an ethereal light on her focused face. As she moved deeper into the rift, the world around her started to alter, its reality rippling like a disturbed pond under a rainstorm. Her surroundings twisted and bent in ways that defied the very laws of physics. Buildings, trees, and even the sky itself shifted and morphed, their forms becoming unrecognizable as they intertwined and overlapped. In front of her, the landscape changed from a bustling cityscape to a serene beach, from a snow-clad mountain peak to a lush, dense forest, all in a matter of seconds. She could see different eras of history colliding, ancient pyramids standing next to modern skyscrapers, medieval castles juxtaposed with futuristic cities. It was a grand cosmic ballet, performed by timelines and dimensions, reminding her of the vastness of the universe and her minuscule existence in it. The sounds of the rift were an orchestra unto themselves. The rustling of the leaves, the roar of the ocean waves, the whistling of the wind, and the hum of the city all intermingled into a symphony of chaotic harmony. It was a cacophony of life, death, and everything in between. These were the murmurings of existence, the whispers of time and space. Colours around her shifted in a psychedelic manner, each hue more vibrant and alive than the one before. The sky was a canvas painted with all the colours of the dawn and twilight, day and night, all at once. It was a kaleidoscope of colour, its beauty beyond words. The vividness of the scene was so intense that it was as if her vision had been enhanced, allowing her to perceive a spectrum of colours that human eyes were not meant to see. Emotions welled up inside her, a torrent of awe, fear, joy, and melancholy, all struggling for dominance. The sheer magnitude of what she was witnessing was overwhelming. Yet she was not afraid. The amulet she held grounded her, guiding her through this tempest of realities, its glow a beacon in the swirling chaos. Between one blink and the next, she was not just a spectator but a participant in this mesmerizing dance. Her body moved with the ebb and flow of the chaotic patterns, each step taking her deeper into the unknown. She could feel the essence of countless lives, the rise and fall of civilizations, the birth and death of stars, all resonating within her. The world around her warped and twisted, a kaleidoscope of times and places swirling in a chaotic dance. Yet, amidst this tumultuous symphony, Amelia stood tall, her gaze steady and unwavering. The amulet pulsed in her grip, matching the rhythm of her beating heart, a silent testament to her bravery. She was a voyager, venturing into the mysterious realms of time and space, and with each step she was redefining her reality, shaping it with her courage and determination. In the rift's core, Amelia faced the darkness, a formless void consuming all light. The blackness encompassed all, a roiling, shifting mass that absorbed everything it touched. It was as if a black hole had been born, its gravity pulling in the very fabric of reality itself. The void was terrifying in its complete lack of definition, an abyss of nothingness stretching into infinity. It was a paradox, a place where nothing existed, yet everything was lost. Her heart pounded in her chest like a wild beast attempting to break free from its cage, echoing the relentless, ominous drumming of the void. Yet she was not deterred. The cold, relentless fear that gnawed at the edges of her consciousness was overpowered by a burning determination that surged through her veins. She was Amelia, the chosen one, the light bringer, and she wouldn't allow her world to be consumed by this omnipotent darkness. The amulet hanging around her neck seemed insignificant against the vast expanse of the void. It was a small, simple thing made of gold, adorned with a single gemstone that shone with an ethereal light. This was the amulet of Aetheris, a magical artifact handed down through generations of her family. It was said to possess the power to illuminate the darkest corners of the universe, and it was this power that Amelia needed now more than ever before. She raised the amulet slowly, her fingers trembling slightly as they clutched the cool metal. Her breath hitched in her throat, swallowed by the oppressive silence of the void. Each second seemed to stretch into an eternity as she gathered her courage, her determination reaching a fever pitch. The amulet glowed brighter, its light growing stronger with every heartbeat that echoed through her body. As she held the amulet aloft, the void seemed to shudder and pull back as if in fear. The darkness quivered and writhed, recoiling from the radiant light that threatened to pierce its heart. This was her chance, Amelia realized, her one opportunity to push back the encroaching void and save her world. With a final surge of courage, she focused her energy into the amulet, calling upon every ounce of her willpower. The gemstone erupted into life, a beacon of pure, unfiltered light that ripped through the darkness. The void shook violently, its formless mass writhing in agony as the light threatened to consume it. For a moment, time seemed to stand still. The infinite abyss of the void was pinned against the blinding radiance of the amulet. A battle of light and darkness waged on an unimaginable scale. The light pierced deeper, its brilliant rays slicing through the darkness like a searing blade, and then the darkness began to recede. It writhed and twisted, shrinking back from the light as if scorched by its intensity. The void, the all-consuming abyss, was being pushed back, beaten by the power of a single amulet and the unyielding spirit of Amelia. She could feel the void's resistance weakening, its formless mass shrinking as it recoiled from the light. She poured more energy into the amulet, her body shaking with the effort, her vision beginning to blur. But she didn't stop. She couldn't, not until the job was done. The light was winning, that much was clear. The darkness was receding, the void shrinking and collapsing under the relentless onslaught of the amulet's light. It was working. Amelia was winning. With one final monumental effort, she thrust the amulet forward, the light erupting in a brilliant, blinding burst. The void screamed, a soundless cry of defeat that echoed through the emptiness before it finally collapsed, consumed by the overwhelming light of the amulet. And then there was silence. A calm, peaceful quiet that wrapped around Amelia like a comforting embrace. The void was gone, replaced by a soft, gentle light that filled the rift's core. Amelia's heart pounded in her chest, a victorious beat that echoed the triumphant rhythm of her victory. She raised the amulet, its light piercing the void. The darkness recoiled, but in the struggle, the rift began to destabilize. It was an uncanny sight, a horrifying spectacle of raw power and primordial fear. The void was retreating, drawing back into itself like a wounded animal shrinks away from a threat, recoiling back into the shadows. The shadows, once merely the absence of light, became a living entity, powerful and ominous. The darkness, an embodiment of the unseen, the unknown, the mysterious, shrank back and lashed out in pure desperation. The struggle was a sight beyond comprehension, a battle of unseen forces. The world around the rift started to tremble and quake. Pebbles danced on the ground, leaves shuddered on the branches, and the sky overhead seemed to darken, as if aware of the struggle that was unfolding below. The trees bent and bowed as if paying homage to the immense power that was at play. The air turned heavy, filled with an electric charge that prickled on the skin, hair standing on end in response to the sheer energy of the chaotic spectacle. The destabilization of the rift was not a simple process. It was an epic, catastrophic event that threatened to unravel the very fabric of reality. The rift, a tear in the universe, a window into another dimension, started to tremble and shake. The edges, once sharp and defined, began to blur and distort, sending ripples of energy pulsing outwards. The atmosphere around it twisted and turned, warping with the violent energy of the rift, as if reality itself was striving to maintain its integrity. The sight of the rift, trembling and shaking, was terrifying. The very heart of the universe seemed to skip a beat. The stars in the sky flickered, faltering in their eternal dance, and the moon turned pale, losing its silvery sheen as if it too felt the threat of the rift's collapse. The world held its breath as the rift continued to destabilize, the darkness recoiling, retreating, yet fighting back with everything it had. In the midst of this chaos, Amelia's other self appeared. A mirror image, a reflection of the woman she was, yet so starkly different. An embodiment of strength and determination, of courage and resilience. She was a warrior, a guardian of the universe, a defender of the rift. She stood tall and defiant in the face of the darkness, a beacon of light amidst the chaos. She shouted, her voice echoing through the escalating turmoil. It was a warning, a desperate plea, a declaration of the impending catastrophe. Her words cut through the chaos, slicing through the noise like a blade, a clarion call that demanded attention. If the rift collapses, all will be lost. Her voice was filled with a sense of urgency, of desperation, of sheer terror at the thought of what would happen if they failed. Her words hung in the air, a resonating echo that punctuated the reality of the dire situation. The fight was not over yet. The struggle continued, the rift still threatened to collapse, and the darkness still recoiled. It was a battle of monumental proportions, a tussle that threatened to tear apart the very fabric of reality. And as the darkness recoiled, the rift destabilizing with every passing second, the echo of Amelia's warning continued to resonate. If the rift collapses, all will be lost. All. Amelia, standing at the edge of oblivion, had to make a choice. She was there, on the precipice of the unknown, where reality and fantasy seemed to mesh into a terrifying tapestry of interweaving possibilities. The darkness was looming, an inky void of uncertainty that threatened to engulf everything she had ever known. It was a monstrous, stomping beast, unseen yet frighteningly present, a spectre that gnawed at the edges of her sanity. Her heart pounded in her chest, a frenzied drumbeat echoing her mounting dread. The air was thick, heavy with the weight of unspoken fear. It pressed down on her, wrapping her in its suffocating shroud. The wind whispered mournful lullabies in her ear, a haunting melody of doom and despair. She was alone, a solitary figure against the backdrop of the cosmos, dwarfed by the sheer magnitude of the task at hand. She had walked this path, this treacherous tightrope, countless times before, but never with such dire consequences. She was a puppet caught in an unforgiving maelstrom of cosmic forces, a plaything in the hands of fate and destiny. Every fibre of her being screamed at her to run, to hide, to seek refuge in the comforting familiarity of her world. But she knew that to do so would be to abandon the countless lives that hung in the balance, teetering on the brink of annihilation. She was their only hope, their last line of defense against the insatiable hunger of the darkness. She looked down at the abyss, a swirling vortex of interstellar energies that danced and twirled in a captivating ballet of light and darkness. The rift was unstable, a chaotic maelstrom of raw, untamed power. It beckoned to her, a siren's call that promised salvation or doom in equal measures. Amelia was a warrior, a champion of light in a world rapidly succumbing to the encroaching shadows. She had battled the denizens of the darkness time and again, vanquishing them with a strength and determination that belied her fragile form. She had weathered the storm of despair, emerging stronger, more resilient with each passing ordeal. Sacrifice was a familiar concept to her, a haunting echo of past battles fought and won. She understood its price, the toll it took on one's soul, the raw, searing pain of loss and regret. But she also knew its reward, the sweet release of victory, the liberating sensation of knowing that one has made a difference, that one has stood against the darkness and emerged triumphant. And now, she was faced with the ultimate sacrifice. The fate of countless worlds hung in the balance, their futures intertwined with her decision. To sacrifice herself, to willingly walk into the jaws of death, was a decision that would echo through the ages, a testament to her bravery and selflessness. Sure, she could run, could disappear into the safety of her world, but at what cost? She would be leaving behind a universe on the brink of devastation. Innocent lives that would be consumed by the unforgiving darkness. It was a burden she was not willing to bear, a guilt that would surely consume her. Her decision weighed heavy on her heart, a crushing load that threatened to break her. But she was Amelia, a beacon of hope in a world overshadowed by fear. Her resolve hardened, her determination unwavering. She was ready to face the darkness, to challenge it head-on in a battle that would define her existence. And thus, it came down to this pivotal moment, this single point in time where she had to make her choice. Sacrifice herself to stabilize the rift, and save countless worlds, or escape and risk the darkness consuming everything. What choice did Amelia make? The question floated in the air, filling the room with a tangible sense of anticipation. This was not a query of idle curiosity, but one that bore the weight of destiny. The course of her life, and perhaps many others, would be shaped by the decision she would make. Amelia. The name echoed in the silence, reverberating with the power of the fate that she held in her hands. She was not merely making a choice for herself, but for all who lay in the shadow of the lighthouse she had been entrusted with. For generations, the lighthouse had stood as a beacon of hope and light in the midst of the storm. It was a symbol, a guide, an unwavering tower that held the darkness at bay and guided countless souls safely to the shore. But now, the lighthouse stood at a crossroads. Its light had begun to dim, its structure weakening under the relentless assault of time and the elements. The once dazzling beam that had pierced the night was now merely a flicker. The lighthouse was dying. Amelia was the last of the lighthouse keepers. A lineage that had been passed down from generation to generation, a sacred duty to maintain the light and guard against the darkness. Yet, she was different. She was stronger, bolder, destined for something greater. She was, as some prophesied, the ultimate guardian. But becoming the ultimate guardian was not an easy path. It demanded sacrifices, courage, and an unwavering commitment to the light. The title came with a burden, a weight that could crush the unprepared. It was a path of solitude, a life dedicated to the service of others, a pledge to stand against the encroaching darkness, no matter the personal cost. The other choice was to let the lighthouse's light extinguish, to surrender to the inevitable decay of time, to let the darkness claim the beacon that had stood for so long. It was a choice of relinquishment, a release from the burden she carried. The room held its breath as Amelia pondered her options. Her gaze fixed on the dying lighthouse, her mind filled with the weight of her responsibility. Her heart pounded in her chest, echoing the urgency of the decision. The voices of the past whispered in her ears, words of encouragement, pleas for her to embrace her destiny. The echoes of the countless souls who had been guided by the lighthouse's light reverberated in her heart. Their hopes, their prayers, their gratitude all rested on Amelia's shoulders. Yet, there was also the call of the future. The allure of a life free from the shackles of duty, the possibility of a path that held more than just the ceaseless battle against the darkness. There was an enticing whisper in the wind, a promise of a life yet to be lived. The balance hung in the balance, the scales poised to tip at her command. The choice was hers to make, the ultimate decision that would shape not only her destiny, but the destiny of many. Amelia's gaze hardened, the hint of a decision stirring in her eyes. She straightened, her shoulders square, the weight of her decision no longer a burden but a mantle she willingly bore. Would she become the ultimate guardian, or would the lighthouse's light extinguish in the shadows? The fate of Amelia and the Ebonshire Lighthouse hangs in the balance, a captivating narrative that swirls around you like a consuming storm. This story is a dance, a rhythmic sway between emotion and raw power, beautifully engaging and yet hauntingly dangerous. It starts with Amelia, a beacon of courage in the most unforgiving circumstances, her journey intrinsically linked to the Ebonshire Lighthouse. The lighthouse, stoically standing on the precipice of the roaring sea, is a mesmerizing symbol, a testament to resilience and survival amidst the relentless waves of change. It's there that Amelia's fate intertwines with the lighthouse, creating a saga that echoes through the corridors of time. Her connection with the lighthouse is not merely physical, but metaphysical, bound by unseen threads of destiny that weave too intricate a pattern for us to discern. The tale of Amelia and the Ebonshire Lighthouse is a labyrinth of courage and sacrifice, a complex maze that offers no easy answers, only deeper questions. Courage, as exhibited by Amelia, is not simply the lack of fear, but the audacity to confront it, to stare into the abyss and still choose to march forward. Every step she takes, every decision she makes, are testaments to her unwavering bravery. Sacrifice, on the other hand, is a multifaceted diamond on a crown of thorns. It is a price paid, a promise kept, a destiny embraced. It is Amelia's sacrifice that brings the soul of the narrative into sharp relief, highlighting the poignant truth that sometimes, to preserve what we hold dearest, we must let go of what we cherish most. Both courage and sacrifice are at the heart of this narrative, intertwined and inseparable, just like Amelia and the Ebonshire Lighthouse. These elements are not merely themes explored in the story, but vital lifeblood that pumps through its veins, giving it a palpable heartbeat. The tale unfolds at the crossroads of time and destiny, where the past, present and future converge, where choices and consequences collide, and where fates are sealed. The crossroads, a place of decision and revelation, serves as the backdrop for this tale, casting long shadows of suspense and intrigue on the events that transpire. Amelia's journey, fraught with danger yet illuminated by hope, is a testament to the indomitable human spirit, an exploration of the lengths we are willing to go to protect those we love. The lighthouse, in its silent vigil, bears witness to her struggles, her victories, her losses, an observer of her dance with destiny. And so this tale, etched into the annals of history, resonates with an undeniable truth, that we are all shaped by the choices we make and the sacrifices we are willing to endure. It is a reminder of the power of courage, the weight of sacrifice, and the unyielding pull of destiny. A tale of courage and sacrifice at the crossroads of time and destiny. The fate of Amelia, the Ebonshire Lighthouse, and indeed our understanding of the human spirit, hangs in the balance. Only time will tell the end of this story. There is something poignant about a lighthouse, a solitary symbol of guidance standing alone against the forces of nature. It stands tall, a stalwart against the relentless sea, its light piercing through the darkest nights and the thickest fogs. The lighthouse, in its sheer singularity, is a testament to human resilience and determination. It is a symbol of our desire to stand against the storms that life throws at us, to guide those who might lose their way in the darkness. Its strong and sturdy structure, often weather-beaten and battle-worn, hints at centuries of silent endurance. Its very existence, the fact that it persistently continues to function and shine, is a story of survival. It seems to speak to us, its message conveyed not through words, but through its unwavering light. It whispers tales of ships that have passed, of storms weathered, and of countless lives saved. Every flash of its light is a reminder of its importance, a literal beacon of hope in the otherwise dark and dangerous sea. This lighthouse, as it watches over the sea, is more than just a building. It is a storyteller. It guards the secrets of the past, of many a mariner who sailed by its light, of storms that threatened to tear it down, of calm nights when its light was but a comforting presence. The lighthouse, in its silent vigil, holds stories of the sea and those who dare to sail it. Each stone in its structure, each stair in its tower, is a page holding a piece of history. Each window looks out to a different tale, a different time. Its mysteries are not locked away in dusty books or hidden in cryptic puzzles. They are there for anyone patient enough to listen, to observe. For those who take the time to understand, its secrets are as clear as its light. The lighthouse promises the hope for the future too. Its light shows the way for the lost, guiding them towards safety. For the mariners out at sea, the sight of its light is a sigh of relief, a sign that they are close to land, close to safety. It promises that no matter how lost one might be, there is always a way back home. That no matter how dark the night might seem, there will always be a light to guide one back to safety. It is a testament to human resilience, a symbol of our ability to weather any storm. It reminds us that no matter how violent the sea, how dark the night, we are not alone. There is always a guide, a beacon of hope that will stand strong, unwavering in the face of adversity. And so the lighthouse stands, a silent guardian watching over the sea and those who dare to traverse it. Unyielding in its resolve, it continues to shine its light, continues to guide those who might lose their way. Until then, the lighthouse stands vigilant, a beacon in the storm, guarding the secrets of the past and the hope for the future. Thank you for joining us on this journey, dear viewers. We're truly humbled by your decision to invest your valuable time into consuming our content. The lighthouse, our beacon amidst the storm, has opened its doors to us, sharing its tales. It whispered its secrets into our ears and rewarded us with the gift of knowledge. Each echo, every shadowed corner, had a story to tell, a lesson to learn. We've embarked on this voyage together, venturing into the deep unknown, guided by the lighthouse's unwavering luminosity. We've felt the cool, salty breeze brushing past our faces, tasted the tangy, brackish air, and heard the pulsating rhythm of the sea waves. We've seen the world through the eyes of the lighthouse, standing tall amidst the darkness, fighting the shadows that threaten to engulf it. Each with you had a purpose, to make you part of our experience, our adventure. We walked through the cobweb-laden corridors, climbed up the spiraling stairs, and emerged at the top of the lighthouse, where the beacon, our guide, awaited us. Did the Guardian's plight resonate with you? His tale, mired sacrifice, was a testament to his unyielding devotion towards his duty. Did it stir something within you? Did it make you question your perceptions of duty and sacrifice? We also confronted the shadows of darkness, the unseen threats that lurk in the corners. Do you remember the chill that ran down your spine, the shudder that shook you to your core? Or perhaps you found comfort, solace even in the heart of the rift, where the light of the lighthouse couldn't reach, where secrets lay buried, waiting to be unearthed. It's a paradox, isn't it? Fear and comfort, darkness and light, all intertwined and coexisting. Your thoughts, are the lifeblood of this journey. We're not eager, we're famished for your insights. We value your inputs highly and encourage you to voice them out loud. You're not just a viewer, you're a part of the narrative, a character in our story. Your feedback, your theories are the keys to discovering the hidden truths underneath. Like every comment and every subscription propels us forward, takes us a step closer to unraveling the mysterious truths that are tightly woven into the fabric of our world. So, do not hesitate to hit the like button if the lighthouse's tale piqued your interest. Comment down below about your theories, your observations. Let your thoughts flow freely. Subscribe to our channel if you share our thirst for knowledge, our passion for uncovering the mystifying enigmas that cast long shadows over our world.